Hello and welcome to TechyChats, the space to listen and learn from our inspiring guests in tech, from their journey into tech to what their role is about. The digital industry is ever growing and ever changing. I'm Rachel, and today I'm joined by Victoria Tomlinson. So welcome, Victoria.
Hi there, Rachel. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, thank you for being here. So Victoria is the Chief Executive and founder of Next Up, which helps partners and senior executives from 50 plus to plan for unretirement. I'm very excited to hear more about that. But also, Victoria is a best-selling author, international speaker, one of the BBC's expert women, chairs Women in Leeds Digital, and a former director of EY in London. So these are just a few things of what you've done. So please, would you tell us a bit more about yourself and what you do?
I'd love to. And thank you so much, Rachel. It's lovely to meet you. I guess I've got quite a long career. I'm happy to declare my age because it's very relevant to what I'm doing. So I kind of, it's like introducing yourself to an AA meeting. I'm 65 and I want to work for another 25 years, and that's sort of relevant. So going back just very quickly, I started my career as a graduate trainee in an engineering company, what's now GE Aviation. I went on to selling banknotes around the world for what's now De La Rue. And then I went to EY, as you mentioned, and I was quickly promoted and I went on to the leadership team to around the age of about 32, 33, I think. And then True Love came along. So I moved up to Yorkshire and I started my own business, a comms business, which over the years has moved into digital and leadership. And that's really what came, you mentioned about Next Up, and that's we're helping people coming up to retirement and in retirement to use their skills in new ways. And that came out of, I've always worked in the professional and the corporate market, but I was very early into social media. So I've been blogging for 13 years now and very early in using LinkedIn strategically. So I was seen, I've also chaired, as you mentioned, sort of boards and things. I was seen as a rather odd person who was sort of quite senior in that market, but I understood LinkedIn. And what happened was we were being sent very senior people as they came up to retirement or just retired to help them sort out their LinkedIn profiles. And I quickly realized this is a really difficult time for people retiring, and they're very lost. Often they're expecting to get non-executive director roles and they don't know how to go about that. They need help with their LinkedIn, but introductions. And that all led to us starting Next Up. And alongside that, I don't know whether to keep going on this, but alongside that, with a story about women in Leeds Digital, one of the things I've been doing is getting this generation, they've got such skills, and getting them to mentor, particularly tech entrepreneurs. And that's really sort of how I came into being a bit techie and started blogging about the whole issue of using the skills of this generation to help younger people. And from there, I was delighted to be asked to be chair of Women in Leeds Digital. And we're all about increasing diversity in the tech industry. Yes, we're sort of Leeds based, but we've got ambitions to go much more and way beyond just women. We're just rethinking about what we do. And we want to increase diversity of all sorts of people. In a way, Rachel, what you're doing is exactly right. It's saying that tech's much more than just coding. And come and have a look at all the careers and things that you can do in this area.
Brilliant. I'm excited to see more about how you're expanding Women in Leeds Digital. Would you think you'd change the name, or would it just be like a branch?
We are changing the name. We're going to Wild now, which I'm not quite sure if people are going to know what we do now, but yes, we're in the process of doing that at the moment, just to reflect that much broader remit that we're doing.
Oh, that's really exciting. That's fab. So I love how you basically saw a gap in the market to help people and just thought, you know, this is a great opportunity. What do you do in your day-to-day role then?
I guess there are also, I was going to say there's two things, but it's much more than two things. So one is we are starting to work with professional firms running 2-day workshops. Obviously now at the moment they're online. So we're working with groups of partners. So I've got one next week, I don't think they mind my saying, with EY, and we have partners from all over Europe joining us. And we're working with 2 or 3 other law firms and talking to all sorts of people about helping their senior people globally. My ambition is to take this much wider. There's a sort of a defined market for senior people at the moment, but really we want to help anybody coming up to retirement, whatever their roles have been. So we're also talking to very large global corporates about creating ambassadors in the community from people who've retired, but we're still at the early days of that. So what do? I also find lots of stories. People kind of, I'm sure they go, oh, not you again. So I just press record a bit like you're doing when I meet interesting people to share stories. And we just launched our podcast. So that's literally last week, Rachel. So we're finding a new way to tell the stories of interesting people and what they've learned along the way, what they're doing. We've just interviewed somebody in Paris, Pierre Bosch. So he's got an art gallery, and he thought he ought to get to know his local community. So he got involved with Macron's En Marche party, and he went along for being to be selected as the mayor of Saint-Cloud in Paris. And then we just interviewed a lovely lady who's the first lady in Britain to be given a Michelin star for her restaurant. And she sold her restaurant, and she's now got the stylish takeaway that you could imagine, an Airstream van that she's got. And just really interesting stories about why, what you're doing, your ambitions, really.
Oh, that's awesome. What's that podcast called?
It's called Rethink Retirement.
Rethink Retirement. Everyone needs to go check that out because it does sound really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'd love feedback. We're still finding our way. So I'm doing that with Trevor Hatton, who's our associate. And we're still finding out doing two-handed interviews. So I think we're getting cooler at it. But any feedback from people we would really welcome, because we're still new to this.
I know it's always a bit of you start off with a really good idea and how you're going to do it. And then as you go, it just completely changes. It's fine, especially in like environments, because that's how you develop and stuff.
Going back to technology though, it's so amazing, because literally all the videos on our website, that's next-up.com, she says, being promotional, but well, I used to do them in person, but they're literally done on my camera with a little microphone. I just press record, and people go, gosh, they're really good quality. How do you do that? What kit do you use? And I go, it's just my phone, actually. And then we upload it. And doing the podcast, we're just doing it on Zoom. And obviously all the interviews recently have been on Zoom. And it's amazing what you can do. And I've reached out recently to an amazing lawyer that'll be coming up soon on our peer stories. He's in Denver, and he's written a book and launched it. So I was talking to him as a lawyer. And then I've reached out to somebody in Canada, Jackie, and she's launched a podcast. So I was asking her how she went about that and things. And we've got an interview with her coming up. So you can just go anywhere in the world and say, can I interview you? And people go, yeah, you'll be finding that as well. It's brilliant.
I love that. I really love that, how you could just like talk to anyone around the world. And it really just opens up your audience as well, and it allows you to kind of reach more people, help more people, and find those stars who really want to listen and learn about, what you're doing.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So quick question. In Next Up, do you like hone in on one specific industry, or is it kind of any?
No, the only thing we hone in on is about how people use their skills. So there's lots of people around, the sagas, and there's the gap year for older people and all the rest of it. That's fine. That's travel, that's hobbies, that's keeping amused and things. What I'm really focusing on is, and it's no particular sector, is the skills of people and how you can use them. We're looking at mentoring, but we've just pulled out in the last year with COVID, doctors and nurses from retirement. I mean, how amazing that and how ridiculous actually, that you've got these people with extraordinary skills who are prepared to risk their lives, go turn and turn about with people in intensive care, and yet otherwise they would have been retired. So I think, we've also pulled out the teachers are helping. All sorts of people have come out of retirement to help. And yet we're seeing them as being a has-been and a liability to society rather than an amazing opportunity. And I did a piece just recently on LinkedIn about Captain Sir Tom Moore, and how nobody was surprised that you have somebody at 100 being alive still. That's not a deal anymore. What people were surprised about was how you could have a global impact. And I said in this piece, he didn't do things, so he didn't go running, on the streets, if you like. He did it through using a walker to do this fundraising. but you might do things differently as you get older, but you can still have an amazing impact. And I just think we're wasting us kind of half our society, really, if I'm honest. And if we can help people, they will be benefiting society and businesses and all sorts. But at the same time, if people aren't doing very much, you become physically and mentally quite unhealthy. You know, it's not good for you just to do nothing.
Yeah.
So if I could do anything to change the world, it would be, how are we going to use these skills? I've got real ambitions to go global and it's about rethinking retirement, really, big time.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree with you. There's so much experience and knowledge, and there's so much that people can bring who are in retirement. And not just to what you're doing, but maybe like to younger people as well. I've had some support.
No, definitely. Sorry, you're going to say, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I completely agree. Like, I've had some chats with some friends, and they will, like, because of COVID, they really missed the interactions with people like over the age of 50, and just having those like warm conversations and having those almost like a unofficial mentoring chats. And I think that's really missing in society at the moment, like for me to see, and that's what we were talking about before. So this is like really, really interesting and really exciting, because that is a big, a big need.
Well, what we did do, I've been working, in fact, Leeds City Council kind of helped us and encouraged us to do this. We launched a free mentoring site last year as COVID hit to get this generation really helping younger people, you know, entrepreneurs and others as COVID hit. Because for this generation, again, going back to what Captain Sir Tom Moore said, you know, he's kind of been there, done it. He's seen much worse, actually, you know, in terms of having been there in the war. What they're doing is mentoring. So it's a free mentoring platform. If you go to our website, anybody can sign up. And you just, I mean, some of the entrepreneurs who sign up said, oh my God, they're amazing people. Are you sure it's free? And we go, yes, it is. And they're so generous. Oh. And there are lots of on our website about how they're helping. It's absolutely amazing. So your bit there, Rachel, about sort of talking to somebody older and just talking things through, you can decide how you want to use that mentoring. They would be more than happy to help you. We've got so many people there. We've got hundreds, literally.
Oh, that's
so
incredible.
If we can help,
yeah, absolutely. Yes. So people need to check out, who are watching this vlog, that opportunity as well, because there is so much to tap into, so much knowledge, so different perspective. And that's, I think that's just really, really important, because it's so easy nowadays to kind of be in your bubble, especially when you're at home and you've got your laptop and you've got your, you know, your four walls. And you're constantly at home, and it's like it's really easy to get into your own little bubble. And I've definitely done that. I know friends have done that. So having that chat with not just your friends, but people with completely different perspectives is really exciting.
And they haven't got any agenda. They're very independent. And with some of the first, we did some events to begin with, and one of the entrepreneurs said, "Oh gosh, it was so good." We did them sort of in a meeting, and we put one entrepreneur at a table, and then they just talked through what they're going through. So normally I have to put, she called it her face on, because normally I'm talking to investors, my team, my clients, my customers, and you have to put on a sort of an upbeat, of course, you know, everything's fine, because you want to get everybody, you know, reassure them. But she said it was so nice just talking honestly about what I'm going through. Not that she was in any big problems or anything, but just to talk honestly without worrying about how's that going to come over to somebody else, and not having any agenda in that discussion. So she said it was fantastic.
Oh, that's really cool. That really takes you out of the moment and puts like your situation, which affects your mindset, which affects the conversation. Really cool. So you briefly touched on it before. I'm going to ask you again though. If you had infinite resources, what is the biggest problem you would solve?
Our society, and using the skills of unretired people. I think it's a huge opportunity. Somebody called me of the zeitgeist the other day. I had to look it up what it meant, but anyway. And really, it's an issue of our moment. We've got an aging society. Let's not look at them as a problem and a liability, but let's look at them. How do we use those opportunities? I'm passionate about that.
Absolutely love it. What would you say your favourite part of your role is? And obviously, there's a lot of aspects to your role, so you could choose which one.
It's helping people to see a future and be excited about it. I helped one person. She was one of the people behind. I've got the sun in my face here, so I'm going to sit back and loving it though. She was coming up to 60, and she'd been introduced to me because she'd been head of a massive business school, and she didn't really know what to do. And she was asking for introductions. And then she just mentioned in passing, I always had an idea for a business. And I said, what's stopping you? And she said, well, I'm 60, people retire. And I said, I'm not. I'm going to work for whatever. And she says now, I looked at you and thought, well, if you can work for another 25 years, so can I. And all I did was to switch on a button in her head to say, why not? What can I do? And she went off and launched this business, hugely successful. She does it. She's doing exec ed for all sorts of corporates, FTSE companies and all the rest. And she's having a ball. So I just kind of feel like that for me is the great story, you know, when you help somebody to see a way forward and to be happy in doing what they're doing next, rather than unhappy about retirement.
I love that. It's that feel-good moment inside that you can't really match with anything else. Oh, no. That's brilliant. What would you say your biggest challenges of your role is?
We're ahead of the game in this. So we're ahead of the curve in terms of people recognizing. So what we're having to do is explain the issues. And to be honest, most corporates have not even thought about the people retiring. And I've referred to a conspiracy of silence because people don't want to admit it's not the dream that everybody, you know, somebody's talked about, people think you're skipping off into the fields and roses with a big grin and having a marvelous time. And she said, it's so awful, but she's never going to tell her colleagues that. And another man saying he was really, really depressed. And lots of, you know, and because they're so successful, they don't want to tell anybody. They're not even telling their partners or wives or husbands or whatever, how awful it's feeling. So if we can sort of change all of that and help them, then I think we're going to sort of open up. But corporates don't understand what people are going through, so they don't, there's an issue. And once people are retired, why should they look after them? So I think it's going to probably become part of their CSR, you know, their corporate social responsibility. But it's also an opportunity for them to bring those skills back into the organisation and to be community ambassadors or whatever. And that's, as I say, it's still early days on that, but that's what I really, and that's what's so hard because it's a new idea. We're still piloting concepts and things, and we're still doing that. Plus, we've got to try and make a business and get some money in as well. So it's quite challenging, but it's very exciting.
Do you have any advice for people watching this around like personal development and how they can kind of grow as a person?
I was thinking about this, and actually I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and we ended up saying, in a way it's my mantra, but I hadn't realized it, it's what can I do rather than what can't I do? And I think that applies even to younger people. You know, everybody has barriers. So, you know, I had barriers when I was younger. I haven't always had great health, but I was a woman in a time when women weren't expected. We didn't even have equal pay when I sort of started. So there are lots of barriers that you hit, and people will continue hitting all sorts of barriers. Don't get wound up about the barriers, just go around them. I was often offered jobs and they wouldn't give me the same pay as the men and things, and I just thought, well, bother you, it's your loss. Let's get hung up on it. I'll go and find somebody who's going to appreciate it. And so actually it's not worrying about what you can't do, but focus on what you can do. That would be my tip.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. I'm going to write that one down. That's brilliant. Great. Have you got anything coming up that you would like to promote or shout about? I know you've got loads of great stuff going on anyway. Is there anything you'd like to talk about?
I would love it. Your audience probably would really love to use some of these mentors. So I would love more people to sign up and use them. As I say, it's all free. So just go to next-up.com and you'll see it's called 500 Mentors. And just sign up and just approach anybody. It's a free platform. It's amazing. It's very organic. It's not very bureaucratic to sign up. And then I would love people to listen to our podcast and give us feedback. Again, that's on the website next-up.com. I would love to know whether people think they're interesting or if we haven't quite got it right yet, or what else we should be doing and sort of saying and what you'd like to hear.
And if people want to find you online, where can we see your posts?
Next-up.com. And that's where lots of things are. And I'm on LinkedIn as well. I'm always happy to connect to people.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being on this vlog. I've absolutely loved having this chat with you.
I loved it. Thank you for being interested, Rachel. And I wish everybody watching this good luck and come and join our movement if you like. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.